Well, greetings, Boise State fans. Happy Thursday to you here at Bronco Nation News Live, here at BroncoNationNews.com, broadcasting both on the social media channels of Bronco Nation News as well as 95.3 The Ticket. If you're listening to the audio podcast version later on Thursday, we appreciate that as well. You can download that at iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music. But Mike Prater is with us for his weekly Thursday appearance, and they're already chirping us in the YouTube chat. Kurt chiming in. It's 9 a.m. We got OK Bro Jill saying 9:01 BJGs. They want this show right at 9 o'clock. So we apologize for being 90 seconds late here, Mike. We were doing our pre-show meeting here. We got to be ready.
Yeah, that 90-second production meeting that's going to change the world. But yeah, we're ready to go now, BJ. Welcome, and thanks for having me. And let's get after it today.
I like the hat, man. You're sporting the new 95.3 The Ticket hat.
This is the first time I've not shown up on this show without my ropaint.com hat. So I'm going to have to make sure we take care of Andy as well. I'll do a little rotation, but JP kind of dug these suckers up, and first time I've worn it. So I saved the debut for you, BJ.
I appreciate that. I got the Ropaint polo on today, so I'll support support Ropaint for you. And we got to work out some sort of trade, JP, if he's listening. Maybe I can get some a 95.3 The Ticket hat, and I can hook you guys up with some Bronco Nation News hats or something.
There you go.
We got to see what we can do. We got a great show planned today. The NFL draft starts tonight, so we're going to talk about that and look at some of the Boise State prospects, when Khalil Shakir might get his name called, what we think about some of the other guys' chances. We're going to continue our basketball series, kind of reviewing last season and looking ahead, and I thought a perfect one for Mike Prater to evaluate the coaching staff. So we'll take a look at the coaching staff, Leon Rice, Mike Burns, Tim Duryea, and kind of see how we thought they did last year, their outlook moving forward now that, RJ Barsh is gone and Roberto Bergerson is in as the assistant coach. But we will start with a little bit of news. Breaking news last night around 9:30 at night, Mike. Chibuzo Agbo, 4-star transfer from Texas Tech. He was the number 75 player in the class in 2020. He goes to Texas Tech for 2 years, doesn't play very much, kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and decides last night around 9:30 that he is transferring to Boise State. So Boise State picks up a top 100 player. You can see him in this photo right here. Chris Beard pointing at him after a game during his freshman season. He's a high-talent kid, Mike. I'm not going to ask you to break down his game footage here, but, he's a 6'7" wing player, is a strong outside shooter, is similar body type to an Emmanuel Acott type, one of those lanky, athletic wing players that Boise State has started to accumulate the last couple of years, and I think he's got a chance to come right into the starting lineup and help this team in a major way.
On paper, he looks really good, and I read your story last night. Nice job on breaking that story, and I saw his announcement as well, putting out there on social media platforms. But on paper, it seems like Leon Rice got himself a pretty good one here in terms of what he can do, filling the holes. If you've lost Acott and Kejab and you need to fill those holes immediately, and it's been a little bit of a while, so I guess it hasn't been immediately, but he did a nice job on paper. So I cannot wait to see it. I guess one of the really cool parts about the transfer portal, the transfer era, whatever we're in these days, is that all these shiny new toys, and you get the whole offseason to kind of figure out how good is this guy? How good is Sada? How good is Agbo? When you have players returning and they're in the system for 3 or 4 years, you kind of know what you're getting. In this particular case, it's kind of a surprise that we have to let fester for the entire offseason. I cannot wait to see what this guy brings to the basketball court.
Nick Wade says a great day for Bronco Nation. Sean Cook chiming in. What led to his departure at Texas Tech? Was it a playing time thing? Yeah, it was. It's basically, and I saw somebody last night go, well, look at his stats at Texas Tech. They weren't very impressive. That concerns me. Well, did you check Abu Kejab's stats when he left Oregon? Did you check Emmanuel Acott's stats when he left Arizona? It's the exact same situation. A 4-star, top 100 player goes to a Power 5 school where all the guys are top 100 Power 5 players. He just couldn't quite fit into the rotation. Chris Beard, one of the best coaches in college basketball, signed him at Texas Tech. He played 1 year for Chris Beard, decided to stay with Mark Adams for 1 year, the new coach. And, they brought in a lot of transfers and stuff that were, more ready and played over him. And you know what? He just decided he wanted to go somewhere else. But it's, in my opinion, it's the exact same situation where it's a guy that is a high level player and just didn't quite fit into the high level spot at Texas Tech. But you come down a level to the Mountain West, and he's got a chance to be, kind of reach his potential, show what he can do. And by all accounts, that the pickup game and the workout he did on his visit with Boise State's players was super impressive. And I think he's got a chance to come in and start and score in double figures right away. Just because he didn't play a lot at Texas Tech, a team that was in the national championship game, 3 years ago or whatever it was, I don't think that means he can't come in here and be a dominant player right away for Boise State.
I would fully expect a guy like this to be able to walk into this basketball program and be a starter. I don't remember what kind of minutes he was getting at Texas Tech. Like
about 6 minutes, six and a half minutes.
He's going to go 30 plus. He's going to go 30 plus at Boise State, no matter if he starts or not. That seems like the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of opportunity that Boise State basketball has right now with Kijab and Akot gone, and we still don't know a couple of other players in terms of what they're doing. So I really like this addition, BJ. I think it's a pretty good deal. Bottom line, I do like the name game at Boise State. Sada and Ganja and Chibuzo Agbo. Come on, BJ. That's pretty good stuff for a guy that likes to throw out some names. I have to learn how to spell them, but right now they're kind of fun to say.
And right now, that's the trade. I mean, on paper, that's the trade. You lose Abu Kijab and you lose Emmanuel Akot, and those are the two guys you add, the Texas Tech transfer, and then you add, the four-star player, Sada and Ganja, that, like you said, is a little more raw. I mean, right now, you go into next season, you'd probably take an Akot or a Kijab over Sada, but you look, in general, and then you've got, obviously Marcus Shaver Jr. still has a decision to make. Milad Narmouche still has a decision to make, but you got Tyson Degenhart coming back. I know it's hard to project, Mike, because we don't know what's going to happen. I think we expect Shaver to come back. That gives you 3 starters back. Shaver, Degenhart. Depends what happens with Narmouche, I guess. Could be 2, but then you have this guy stepping in now, Agbo. We haven't analyzed every roster in the Mountain West yet, but I think this is a team that shouldn't take too much of a step back. I think they're going to be competing again for a Mountain West championship next year, Mike.
Based on what we're seeing, I mean, if we got Degenhart and you got Shaver and you got Sada and you got Agbo, that's at least 4 right there for your starting. I know they got some other pieces and parts, and whether it's Narmouche, whether it's Milner, however they want to handle that, we'll figure that out down the road when news comes to pay. But I think that they've done a nice job, and I do. At this point, the expectations, and it could change, but the expectations for this basketball team would not lose a drop. And I did that graphic a couple years ago that every time Leon Rice takes a big step forward, he kind of takes a step back. That's the kind of thing you want to avoid. If you're going to have the kind of season they had last year and build that momentum, you cannot take a step back. College basketball is a warp speed sport now, and you have to be able to keep up with the times. You can't take a step back. So I think that from what we can see on paper, he's done a nice job there. I think the expectations going into next year would be 25 wins and an NCAA tournament bid. That might be unfair right now, but just repeat what you did last year. Try to get a little bit better with these pieces that he has. I don't think that there's any reason to think you can't do that, BJ.
And I know the transfer portal and this immediate eligibility has changed things now, Mike, but what do you make of the last couple of years and the recruiting style that Leon Rice is now showing, where they're going and getting some of these Power 5 transfers? They're not just loading up with 4 and 5 freshmen in the class. When Eric Musselman was starting 5 transfers at Nevada, everybody was saying, well, why isn't Leon Rice doing this? Why isn't Boise State doing this? And his philosophy does appear to have changed, that they'll take the 1 or 2 freshmen here and there that they like, the RJ Keens. They're obviously going to take Sada. But you look at the transfer portal the last couple of years, they've plugged some holes in a big way. I mean, obviously having the 4 transfer starters last year, they'll take the Tyson Degenharts. I mean, they're not going to just avoid freshman players, but it looks like they are not afraid to tap into the transfer market. And now that you have that immediate eligibility, you lose an Akot when you weren't expecting to. Let's just go find a 4-star guy from Texas Tech. I mean, it does seem like you can plug holes on rosters faster now with the transfer portal, and it does seem like that the roster management, the roster makeup has changed a little for Leon Rice the last couple of years, and it's proven to have some success.
I would agree with that. My only concern is you got to stick with you got to recruit one Tyson Degenhart every year. It doesn't always have to be as successful and as impactful as Tyson Degenhart is. I mean, I think he was a pretty special true freshman. So that's not going to happen every single year, but you have to be able to recruit one rock solid foundation kind of high school kid every single year. If you get me one of those guys every year, I don't care how many times you dip into the transfer portal. You just got to keep that foundation going. I don't want a running circus of transfer portal guys every single year. So I think there's got to be a mixture, and it can even be a strong heavy on the transfer portal side. I don't care. Just get me one high school rock solid foundation guy every single year, and then you can go off and chase your dreams.
Well, they've done that the last 2 years. If you think about Degenhart and then now adding Sada, so we'll see how that continues. I want to talk about the graphic here, Mike. Very interesting in terms of times of the new times of college basketball right here. Couple of things to notice. So this is the commitment graphic from Chibuzo Agbo. No mention of Boise State. No, he's not wearing a Boise State jersey. Maybe he is, but Boise State has been cleaned out. The tweet, when he posted this, the wording said Boise, let's get it. It never said Boise State, never said committing to the Broncos. There is no, other than a couple, background pictures of Boise here, you really have no idea that he's committing to Boise State. And down in the bottom, you see Bauscher Real Estate and Del Taco, and I have confirmed that he already has NIL deals lined up with both of those companies. What do you make of just the new commitment here, where he obviously was not allowed to put Boise State in there if he's going to have the logos for the companies for the NIL deals? But what's just your thoughts, Mike, on the new wave of college basketball? We saw Nigel Pack go to Miami and get $800,000 in a car. I mean, obviously Boise State's not going to be in that market, but to already have, for a school like Boise State to already have 2 NIL deals lined up for a player when he commits, I mean, this is I think a significant development for a Boise State.
Well, it's certainly a first, and it caught my eye last night when we all saw that graphic. I know you were all over it as well, and Matt Bauscher does a nice job of trying to get involved with this basketball program and help and be a good, solid businessman and booster and former player and alum. So I think that's pretty cool. A college kid getting free tacos for life. I have no idea if that's the real deal, but if you're getting signed up for Del Taco, you got to bring a lot of tacos, BJ. So that's a pretty cool deal for a college kid. I'm hoping he's getting some cash with that as well, because just a taco here is not going to get it done. It's different. It's absolutely different. And I don't mind it. It's the way we are right now. I know a lot of people out there's a lot of angst about this is the goal. We're going in a bad direction here, but you know what? Capitalism, free market. If Boise State can go off and get these guys and get them a little extra cash and get some rights in for some student athletes, I'm all for it, BJ. There's some downside, and we're seeing some ugly sides of that, of name, image, and likeness. But I think at the Boise State level, they're not going to get hurt by it. They're not going to get burned by it, and they're going to do it responsibly. A couple of local businesses here taking care of one basketball recruit. I love it, BJ.
I'd say it's less than 5 in the entire country, Mike, that I've seen so far where the announcements have actually included sponsor deals like this or mentions. I mean, Boise State is on the forefront of college basketball. As I said, Nigel Pack went from Kansas State to Miami, and his was the first deal where it actually announced the NIL deal in the commitment, and it was a $400,000 per year and a use of a car by some company in Miami that's paying him to do that. So this is obviously on a much smaller scale, but this is still one of the first I've seen where it has the company logos right in it. You can see Fatties in the background. Somebody was asking if Fatties was included in the NIL deal. Maybe free cover and skip to the front of the line or something. We'll have to see what he gets there. But no, I think it's significant. I mean, Boise State has talked about being on the forefront of the NIL deals. I don't think in the past we would have seen Boise State, Mike, being one of the first schools in the country to have orchestrated something like this to help get a commitment.
I like it. Kudos to Matt Bauscher. Kudos to whoever pulls the trigger at Del Taco. Nicely done, guys. Kudos for Boise State. I'd like to know. I'm always big a fan of the art of the deal, and did Boise State go out and reach? And I know Boise State and Matt Bauscher probably have an open line of communication, but who reached out to who put this thing together? I'm assuming at one point it was a collaborative event, but somebody had to get the ball starting. Who cares? At this point, it's a pretty cool deal. They got a guy in town, and let's give him some cash. I got no problem with that.
Well, it's big news, and we'll see again with the roster what continues to happen. Some other decisions still have to be made, and we'll keep you updated. They'll have all the details on 95.3 The Ticket. We'll have you at Bronco Nation News as well. BoiseDentistryCo.com. We appreciate one of our great sponsors. There's Dr. Chris Meinert. Those are my kids on the screen there. Our whole family has made the switch to Dr. Meinert. We couldn't be happier. They will be out at the Bronco Nation News Golf Tournament passing out some swag, and I believe J.L. Skinner will be out there with them. So he has some NIL deals with them. So looking forward to that. BoiseDentistryCo.com. We got TCS Transportation Compliance Service as well. Appreciate their support. If you're looking to get into the trucking industry, like 1,000 others are doing a day, it's a booming industry with the pandemic. So check them out, transcomservice.com. They'll take care of all your permits and things you need to do to get out on the road. And if you own a business, you may think you have good in business insurance, but United Commercial Insurance can probably get you a better rate. They're based here in the Treasure Valley, but they can write policies in 44 states around the country. So check them out, UnitedCommercialinsurance.com. BoiseState.com. Mike, I want to stay on basketball for a few minutes here, and then we'll finish up with the NFL draft. But we've been kind of reviewing the coaching staff, or we've been reviewing the players on the roster and kind of doing their outlook, and I think the coaching staff deserves a little bit of a mention. Leon Rice, the Mountain West Coach of the Year. You think about the decision that they made to kick off Devonair Dutrieve, maybe their most individually talented player, back at the beginning of the season. They moved Tyson Degenhart, who, again, had 12 total points in 6 games. 4 of the 6 games he was scoreless, and they saw enough to move him into the starting lineup. All of a sudden, the team takes off from there. In general, the job that Leon Rice and his coaching staff did last year to get that team in the position that they did, your thoughts?
I thought they did a nice job. I thought, I don't know what kind of grade I would give them, A-, B+, because I thought there were some other hiccups and some inconsistencies there, and I certainly wanted to see just a little bit more, but I think they did a fantastic job, starting with what you talked about, the roster management early on. It seems like the Dutrieve thing was so obvious that they had to make that decision. So, but the fact is they pulled that trigger and you just don't see it. Not only did you not see it at that point in a season, you don't see it work the way that it has. They knew they had the great security blanket in Tyson Degenhart. Kudos to them for even getting them into the program and then making that decision and then just doing what they did throughout the year. I was very impressed with Coach Rice. I know I've been hard on him in the past, but in this particular case, he had a great March run. He did a nice job. He got him into the tournament. I wish they'd have been a little bit more prepared in that first half. Not prepared, that's probably the wrong word, but that first half against Memphis got away from a little bit. They came back with a nice finish to give them something to think about for the offseason. I got no issues with Leon Rice. I thought Leon Rice was a little bit more business-like this year. I thought he was a little bit more focused at the task at hand. And we could even see it sometimes in these press conferences. Maybe when he would chat with the media for 10 minutes and just goof around, he would only do it for 5 minutes because I thought there was a little bit more focus in the guys. So, Leon Rice, you did a fantastic job.
Whoa, we got to save that quote.
Yeah.
What's clip that off, JP. What's in terms, I think some of the assistants deserve a little mention here as well. Mike Burns, the quote unquote defensive coordinator. They were one of the best defensive teams in the country this year, top 25 in a lot of the metrics, number 3 in defensive rebounding. All the Ken Palm adjusted defensive numbers, they were top 10 for much of the year. And then offensively, they got off to a slow start, but they improved like 70 or 80 spots in the last month and a half of the season offensively as well. Anything stand out about Tim Duryea on the offensive side? We saw the play call he ran, in the Fresno State game, getting the look there for, there's some individual plays you can point to, but just in general, Tim Duryea or Mike Burns, any thoughts on them? They deserve some credit as well.
Yeah, they do. And I do have some thoughts there. And let me go back to Leon Rice a little bit. Give that dude some credit for keeping these guys around. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes and how much these guys like each other or don't, or how much, career choices Mike Burns have or Tim Duryea have. They've both been head coaches at other places, but they've both been at Boise State for 5 and 6 years, 5 and 7 years combined. They've been with Boise State for 10 plus years. And that is just unheard of. So the core of Leon Rice's coaching staff, he's been able to keep together. And that's with limited resources in an area where in an era where so many different coaches are going off and chasing cash. So kudos to Leon Rice for keeping them. In terms of Tim Duryea, I think he did a nice job in terms of rallying his basketball team in terms of the offense, but it was still one of the all-time historic lows in terms of Boise State basketball. 68 points a game. It's been 10 years. I think Leon Rice's second year where they didn't average 70 points a game. So they averaged 75, 76 points a game last year. It was a 7 to 8 point drop-off from last year to this past season. And I think that's a significant deal. Throw in the free throw shooting issues. That's not just an offensive coordinator. That's not just a Tim Duryea thing. That's a program issue. I thought Tim Duryea did an okay job. I thought Mike Burns did a fantastic job with that defense. And the conversations we had with Mike Burns about that defense and the way he broke it down and the way he talked about metrics and the way they combined all the stuff that they have, all the analytics and all the information they have, I'm really impressed with Mike Burns. But as a core, as a group, Leon Rice, Mike Burns, Tim Duryea, I think it's a fantastic core. And I'm really, really impressed that Leon's been able to keep them together.
And we'll see what Roberto Bergerson can do now coming in. We've already heard good things about him in terms of some of the workouts in the gyms and stuff. I mean, it should be of note that the main reason Sada and Ganja came to Boise State was because of RJ Barsh. RJ Barsh was the close connection with him, and then he signs and gets him, and he leaves. So the impact that RJ Barsh had on this team will be known for at least next year as well, with Sada coming in and him being able to get him. To finish up the basketball discussion, somebody asking, is there any chance that Acott still comes back? He's uncommitted elsewhere. technically, yes, but just from talking to people and figuring out how this works, it sounds like for Leon Rice, once you kind of decide to move on, that you're moving on, and so we'll wait and see. I mean, obviously, if somebody else leaves and there's an open spot and they can't do any better than ACOT, and ACOT can't do any better than Boise State, maybe they can mend the fences somehow and make it work, but I would not expect that to happen. I think the big decision to come is Mladen Armouche, and whether or not he comes back or not. I think we're getting closer to an announcement on that. And then if he leaves, there's still 1,500 plus players in the transfer portal. I would suspect they try to go find an impact center, kind of like this Chibuzo Agbo, someone that maybe was a big kid somewhere at a Power 5 school, not playing as much as they want, and then kind of do the whole thing over again with Mladen Armouche. So I still think there's some roster, churn to happen here, and we'll see what happens. But certainly adding the guys they did, and especially last night, getting Agbo, I think at least lets Leon Rice sleep a little better at night, that you've got another quality piece back to help this team try to repeat as Mountain West champions. Shop Ridley's.com. Ridley's Family Markets, 13 Idaho locations. We appreciate them. I support the Kuna location, frequent that often, whether it's the at-home shopping, the Skip app, home delivery. Check them out, Ridley's Family Markets. The Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. You can check them out at the Boise Town Square Mall, or whether you're online and not in the area, you can just go to theblueandorangestore.com and check them out as there. They will be providing the prizes for the golf tournament, which, Mike, you are not eligible for. If your team wins, you are, as a celebrity fifth, the team will be able to use your drive and they can use some of your shots, but they can win the prizes. So you can just help them along, but you are not eligible for the prizes. In the final couple of minutes here, Mike, I wanted to talk football. The NFL draft starts tonight. By the way, I'm super jealous. I know we both are, frequent visitors of Las Vegas. I think I'm up over 30 career trips there now. And I love Las Vegas. I'm going back and, here pretty soon. We got media days in July as well. And to see the stage set up on the Bellagio fountains and see all the live shots on the different stage. I saw one of them, the NFL Network, I think. It looks like the live shots coming from, the Cosmopolitan Hotel down into the fountains. I mean, all the visual setups to this. I saw one of the ESPN, studios must have been right there at like Planet Hollywood or something, right out there on the Strip. And it just looks awesome the way it's set up. And I'd be fine if it was there every year. But I think it's Kansas City next year gets it, and they're going to keep moving it around. But just in general, the NFL draft, I know we got Khalil Shakir hoping to go tomorrow night, but, from the local angle. But just in general, the draft starting tonight, be in Las Vegas, going to be a fun couple of days.
BJ, I'm so excited for this draft. This is such a cool draft. And yeah, you're right. I love Las Vegas in terms of the career and just visiting it. And I have family there. Vegas checks all the boxes for me, the good, bad, and ugly boxes. And the fact that the NFL draft is there is just mind-boggling. I woke up this morning, I kept thinking, and this is going to be really weird, but I kept thinking about Tony Romo and 10, 12 years ago, the NFL telling him he couldn't come to Vegas to speak or be part of a fantasy football convention. Are you kidding me? And then I see these shots on television now. They got an entire NFL football field right in the middle of downtown Las Vegas. They got logos everywhere. They've turned the Las Vegas sign into a Raiders sign with black and white lights. I mean, the NFL has taken over the city that 10 years ago they wanted nothing to do with. And it's that fast how much of a turnaround it is. So I can see the hypocrisy there, and I can see why the NFL is getting beat up over it a little bit, but I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful marriage. I'd love to see it in Vegas every single year. I think it's a great destination, and they're going to put on one heck of a good party. So in terms of just the college and the football and the mixture of two of my favorite sports, that's great. Now you throw in the Vegas backdrop. I think tonight's going to be 4 hours of just fantastic television.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I know there's going to be a lot of, potential trades and drama and things that could happen. But as we look at the Boise State angle, obviously tonight, won't be a factor for Boise State. Maybe you start to see which wide receivers come off the board and start to check things off. But Khalil Shakir, we've been talking about him for 3-4 months since the season ended, and hopefully tomorrow night is his night. What are your final thoughts here on the eve of the draft about Khalil Shakir? And are you still expecting him to go tomorrow night, or is there any chance he slips into the 4th round on Saturday?
BJ, I'm starting to get this feeling, and it really has nothing to do with Khalil Shakir. It really has nothing to do with the moment. But every time this draft rolls around, every single year, and Boise State's in there, and it's not every single time, but way too many times, we go in with these high expectations of these great Boise State guys, and then late Thursday night or late Friday night or Saturday afternoon when we're getting into the 6th and the 7th round, you can just kind of feel the angst. It's like, it's happening again. And why is it happening? And it's not just happening because it's Boise State. Every one of these individuals, the Curtis Weavers and the Jay Ajayi's, they all have different stories, and it really just kind of knocked them off. There isn't a great feeling of comfort when it comes to Boise State and the history of the NFL draft. So some of that angst is kind of cropping in here. And the deep wide receiver group. I see Khalil Shakir not even making the top 15 in some of these wide receivers. He's definitely not a top 10 wide receiver, but I think he could sneak into the top 15, no problem. I still think he's going to be a third-round draft pick. Every single mock draft you see out there, he's somewhere between 75 and 95. And last year, 6 wide receivers went in those 20 spots. So I don't know if it's coincidence or if that's just the right time to take a wide receiver run. I think Khalil Shakir will get drafted late in the third round, but I just have this uneasy feeling that he may have to sleep on it Friday night and wake up on Saturday morning and do it all over again.
Yeah, some mysterious injury will pop up. We've heard all the stories in recent guys that you're right with Jay Ajayi and some of Brett Rippon not even getting drafted when we all thought that streak was finally going to end. Yeah, I think any fan listening would agree with you. It for whatever reason, even the surefire guys that we think are third round go fifth or sixth, or should be fifth or sixth, don't get drafted at all. And so there's the other stories. There's the Avery Williams, going fifth round, and there's some of those, but overall, you're spot on. And I agree. I don't think any Boise State fan is going to be sitting there with their feet propped up tomorrow night as the third round starts putting their mortgage payment that he's getting picked in the third round. It has happened too many times. And you're right. It's nothing against Boise State in particular. It's just the way the draft unfolds. And, Khalil probably did pick a rough year to come out in terms of the wide receiver depth. I mean, I don't know where he'd rank in previous years, but I can't imagine most years he'd have been the, 10th to 15th best receiver in the draft. So we'll see tomorrow night. He's down in Florida, as you guys have, I'm sure, tried. He's not doing any media this week, trying to kind of just enjoy the draft. He hasn't done much media at all, actually, since he got done with playing. And so we'll see. Best of luck to him, and we're looking forward to seeing where he goes. And who knows, if you got to pick a team, maybe the Dallas Cowboys. Let's just see what happens there. Why not, right? No. None of us would be surprised if that. I know you want the Steelers, right? So we'll see. But final thing, anybody else? Who else are you expecting? I don't think we expect anybody else to get drafted, right? I don't know if you do or not, but in terms of those free agent mini camp deals, those are now back after the 2 weeks off or 2 years off because of COVID. They didn't have kind of the mini rookie camps. But who are we looking at? The 8 guys going for the draft, whether it's Evans, Habibi Likio, Cantrell, Velasquez, Uzo, Osuji. You got Jake Stetz, and then you got Kekala Kaniho. Of those guys, any chance any of them get drafted, and who do you see signing deals after the draft?
I don't see any of them getting drafted. I really don't. Although the draft always surprises us. Those first 4 names you mentioned, I think have a pretty good shot. Those last 3 names, maybe not so much for different kinds of reasons. So I think Boise State's going to get 3 or 4 guys signed Saturday or Sunday afternoon, Saturday night. Certainly by Monday morning, we'll know when we wake up and get these guys. I think they're going to get into camps. Cantrell, I think, is going to get into a camp. Velasquez might get into a camp. Stetz, if he was healthy on 2 legs, I think he's a draft pick, but he doesn't. He's only got 1.5 legs. How gutsy was he on pro day going out and doing what he did? So I think he's going to show some stuff and get into a camp. Octavius Evans, I think he's going to get a shot somewhere. Some of it might be free agent camp tryouts. You show up for a weekend just for a tryout to get into camp. A couple of those guys will probably do that, maybe even like the long snapper. Cantrell, as much as he impressed us on pro day, he's still the 14th ranked long snapper, and they take 1 or 2. So we're not too worried about him getting drafted, but he's definitely going to get a shot. So I can't wait to see what happens on Monday morning, BJ, and we'll see where these guys go.
They really ranked the long snappers? I didn't see that one.
I think Bob Beeler dug that one up. I got to give him credit. He told me he saw a long snapper ranking, and he was number 14.
Oh man, that's hilarious. 3 to 6 today. I'm sure you guys will be all over the first round of the draft. What's the preview of Prater in the ball game today?
Lots of draft, lots of Khalil Shakir talk. We're going to get after that pretty good. And tomorrow at 4:00, BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News Report on Idaho Sports Talk. You do it every Friday, so we're looking forward to that as well, BJ. We'll break down more of the NFL draft, talk a little bit more about Khalil Shakir, and maybe even talk some of this basketball stuff.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Mike. Always a pleasure on Thursdays, and appreciate your time, JP. Thanks for setting it up as well, and thanks everybody for checking us out. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com, and again, you can listen to Prater in the ball game today, 3 to 6, KTIK.com, the KTIK app, 95.3 FM, 1350 AM as well. Have a good Thursday, folks. We'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News, Bronco